So for people that aren't familiar, I mean, I know your story has been on tons of different news sites and different outlets and all that. But yeah, let's talk about the attack to catch everybody up to speed on what exactly happened with you. It's been over a year now, but early November of last year, what happened?
This is what happened. So during COVID, so not really doing a lot, still going outside and skating, but my cousin had called me and was like, hey, do you want to come to Arizona? I'm going to be there. They're originally from Chicago, so they were kind of visiting that area. And I was like, yeah, of course, like that's not too far away. Like I'll just come. Got on a plane ride, went to Arizona. We got our nails done. And at the time, I was taking antibiotics for like, I don't even know what it was for, but I was taking antibiotics. So we had to go back to the house. And this is like a part of the story I don't really tell anyone because I find it really trippy. Like, it was just very weird. Her dog actually had like a skin condition. So it had kind of like bad skin, really itchy, irritated skin. So we went to this like nutritionist and she was like she kind of like hippie, like very into like natural essential oils. And she like looked at me before I even said hi. Cause like when I walk in somewhere, I'm like, hey, how are you? You know?
Yeah.
She like looked at me and she's like, I just want you to know, like dead eye contact. She's like, I just want you to know, like whatever you go through, you're gonna remain positive. And I was like,
What?
oh, like thank you. Like that means a lot. And in my head, I'm like, what am I going through? Like I hope I'll stay positive, you know, like kind of like that. She said it like two other times after that. And like finally the last time I was like, am I going through something like that you know about that I don't? Like, because I was just really thrown off from like her, you know, her three times or four
Yeah.
times saying that. And I was like, I really appreciate that. I was like, I hope I stay positive through like anything that I go through. Literally, and I kid you not, 15 minutes later, the attack happened. So it was like,
Oh my God.
yeah. So like, yeah, weird, right? I
That's
thought
trippy. That's like she
I
like read your energy, read your
was
aura. She
weird.
like,
Yeah,
wow.
crazy. So like, I always flash back to her because I was like, what? Like, it was just weird. But I'm
What
like,
did she see? Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah. So yeah. So then the attack happened. I was in the kitchen. It was kind of like an L-shaped kitchen. So there was an island. I was like in the corner. My cousin was like moving pots and pans in the back, but I was standing up completely. A lot of people say that I had a treat in my mouth or I was bending over to kiss the dog. None of that. I was standing up. I was petting his head and I was like, you're such a good boy. He was like way down on the ground. And I turned back and then I looked at my cousin, then I looked back at the dog and he literally sprung like from the ground onto my face, like latched onto my face. And then within like, you know, your what do you call it? I don't even know, like your instincts kick in and
Yeah.
you're like, my instincts was like, get on the ground, hold his head and go wherever he goes. So I was
Yeah.
literally on the ground, kind of like sumo wrestling position, like on the ground, holding his head, going back and forth. He was playing tug of war. And then, you know, when dogs like take the toys and they go like this,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was basically in my head. So like, I was just like going with him and it had to be like 40 seconds. And then I finally felt like a release and I was like able to kind of push him away. But as soon as I did that, something like flew off and hit the wall and like went down. But I wasn't even thinking about that. I like got up and I was like, wow, that's
Whoa.
such a good breath like of air. Like I can breathe so well. And then I was like, that's weird. Like, what am I tasting right now? And I kind of like just looked down and blood just everywhere. So my cousin finally turned around, started screaming some stuff as I think one in shock would. I have a really high pain tolerance, so I just thought the dog like bit me and then kind of like released. I didn't know that he like had taken everything. We
Holy.
got the dog in one of the closets in the other room, and then I like was over the sink and I was like, you need to take me to the hospital. Like, I don't care what you do. Like, you need to take me to the hospital. Like, this is bad. And then yelled some stuff. We were basically in the house for a good like 30 minutes before we went to the hospital. And the hospital was 11 minutes away. My cousin wasn't from Arizona. She like comes and visits and goes, but she didn't really like know where to take me or like know what to do. So I think her shock was not, I don't know. I don't want to talk bad on anyone, but I just wish like some of the situations were different that happened with this.
Sure.
But Yeah. So it took me 11 minutes to get to the hospital. Well, from the 30. So it's like 44 minutes. And my lip was off ice. And once I got to the hospital, because of COVID, they were like, they had to test me, they had to ask me questions.
No.
I swear to God, I walked up and they had like an outside like check-in, right? Before you even got into the hospital. So I was like standing there with a rag like over my face because my cousin threw it at me. She's like, I can't look at you like that. Like threw a rag on my face. I was like, okay, like what the hell's happening? Put the rag over my face, got to the hospital. I'm like sitting there, there's a nurse, she's like typing on the computer outside. She's like, hi, what's your name? I'm like, Brooklyn. She's like, can you spell it for me? I'm like, Brookl.
Oh
And
my God.
last name. She's like, date of birth. Tell her my date of birth. She's like, what's your address? Give her my address. I was like, yo, like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, okay, what are you here for? And I just like went like this. And she was like freaked out. And she's like, go into the, go, 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 go. So then I get there, same thing at the other desk. What's your first, like, and I'm telling you, like, I don't know if you like the slowest, like the slow, like, what's your first name? Like, I know
I'm sweating right now thinking about this. Oh my God.
insane. So talk about learning patience. That was like,
Oh my, you must have felt like you were in like the twilight zone. Like, is this happening?
and like, you know, like you're sitting there, you're like, shit, like I could pass out at any second. Like I'm losing a lot of blood. You know, they don't really know
Yeah.
that, but I mean, I was just like sitting there, and as soon as same thing with the girl, she's like, okay, what are you here for? And I like went like this. She's like, literally, she almost passed out. I was like, you're a nurse, and you just like, you know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
thanks for the vote of confidence.
literally. So, and since the, like, honestly, the hardest part I think of this whole thing was like being alone in the hospital. I had
Yeah.
to be alone for like three days or 2 days, sorry, or one day. I don't even know. It was a long day, but I'm like the type, I don't like drugs. I don't like any of that stuff. So I didn't take anything in the hospital. Um, yeah.
Whoa.
And coming out of the surgery, the first surgery, I didn't take anything either. So I really had pain
Whoa.
tolerance. I don't like feel pain, I guess. So I don't know. Yeah. Just a fun
Wow.
fact. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like what was that pain like? Were you just in so much shock that you almost didn't even feel it?
I wasn't in shock. I mean, someone would say, well, that is shock. I was like very like aware of everything that was happening. Like I was like, like I'm feeling a little lightheaded. So I like drank, you know what I mean? Like drank water,
Yeah.
to calm myself down because my cousin was losing it. So like as I think one would that saw someone's face like ripped off and probably didn't like blood. Like I completely understand. But
Sure.
at the same time, I was like, we were driving and she's like, there was a cop on the side of the road. She was like, I'm just gonna let the cop take you to the hospital. I was like, holy shit, like we're 6 minutes away. Just
Yeah, keep driving.
if you can't drive, like pull over, let me drive. Like I gotta get myself to the hospital. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I told her too, I was like, get me to the hospital. As soon as you drop me off, you can like freak out and do whatever you need to do, but just like get me there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get me there. Um, yeah. And then just like, yeah, being alone in the hospital is probably just like the worst part. Me and my nurse Lisa. So I don't know. I don't know where she is in life.
Shout out to Lisa.
Shout out Lisa. For real. She was so sweet. But
Man. So what did the doctors say when they first assessed what had happened? What was like, what was the conclusion that they all kind of came to?
I mean, one of the nurses looked at me and he's like, can I take a picture of you? We have a group chat going on and we kind of like discuss the worst cases and you're definitely one of them. I was like, sure, dude, like
Wow.
whatever. Yeah, so he took a picture. One of the other nurses, she's like, she just kept saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Like she just was like really there for me, I think, like more emotionally. My parents didn't really know what was happening. I was told not to text anyone. So I didn't tell anyone. I kind of just sent a picture to my friends and didn't really explain it. And everyone thought I was joking. Like everyone, everyone thought I was kidding. So
Whoa.
yeah, so it was really gnarly. So I was in Arizona, so my parents like drove up there. And then I told them, I was like, look, like I know this is gonna be emotional. I do not want you crying when you see me. Like just be strong. Like like I don't want to be like, oh shit, like I feel sorry for myself. You know what I mean? Kind of like in
Yeah.
that space. So I was like, please, like I know it's emotional and like I know you're probably gonna look at me and like be really sad, but like don't show it, please. Like parents walked in, they're like, hey, how you doing? Like I'm like, good.
Thank God. Honestly, because yeah, I mean, I feel like you would be so teetering on that point of like, am I going to lose it or do I just keep a level head about this, because it is what it is,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
crumbling, like what is crumbling really going to do other than just put you in like a nasty headspace that is like a hairline away, right?
Yeah, and my parents, I mean, thank God for them, but I mean, they were like, we had 6 hours to cry in the car. We got it all out. I was like, "Good." Like, you did what you needed to do. Like, so sorry for, putting you in that emotional spot. I mean, it is emotional. I know that they feel kind of guilty, but at the same time, I'm like, how are you feeling guilty? Like, you had nothing to do. It's just like parents' guilt, I think. And
Sure,
they
they want
want
to
the best
protect
for,
you.
exactly, they want their best for the kid always. So, um, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have so many questions. I'm like, where do I go? Okay. So do you think that if you got to the hospital earlier with your lip on ice,
Yeah.
would they have been able to reattach it?
So what happened, the timeline of like me being in the hospital was I got there about 148 roughly, 150, almost 2. My lip had been off ice for I think like 40 minutes. So by the time we got to the hospital and it was on the ice, I like remember being like in the hospital bed and kind of like the nurse like came in, she's like, "That's your lip over there." I was like, "Thanks for letting me know." So I like remember like looking over at it and it was like
What is this hospital? They seem insane to me.
I literally like that's why I'm saying like this shit is like a movie. Like I don't even think that when I tell the story, I'm like, this is so weird that that happened to me. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. It doesn't even make sense. So my lip was like it was like this, and then when I looked at it, it was literally like shriveled and up like this, like in a U. And I was like, oh shit, like that looks like a worm. Like it looked literally like a worm in a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I got there at around 150, around 2, and they were keeping me in the waiting room, like in this little hospital bed, and they were like, "Oh, like we don't have any surgeons, we don't have an emergency team here. We're gonna take you to another hospital that's 40 minutes away." And I was like, "Okay." So then I was there from 1 to 5, and then I had an ambulance come pick me up around 5:30, and it took me on a 40-minute car ride because there was traffic around that time in Arizona. So I got there like 6, and I didn't go into like surgery to just kind of like fix the situation. I mean, because they couldn't reattach it because they did say that it died. Um, yeah, they didn't take me into surgery until like 10 o'clock that night.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like a whole day of me waiting around, like, oh my God, like what's gonna happen? Like, come on. And I was alone. So I was literally just sitting in the hospital bed. My phone was on like 10% too. So I like didn't have my phone. So I was like, how do you tell people that you're going through something without like trying to scare them? So I was like, hey, just like in the hospital, like I don't know. It was crazy to be honest. It was kind of surreal, but
Holy.
yeah,
So the dog ripped off your whole upper lip and part of your nose as well, right?
yeah. So if you had looked at me in the hospital room, like right when the attack happened, this is like a way to explain it, but this is the only way to explain it visually. It looked like someone like put a gun to my face and kind of like shot a bullet. Like it, like from the side, it was like completely gone. Like literally the tip of the nose was still there, the septum completely gone, and the left side of my face, kind of like where he grabbed it more on that side, I guess, on like this side, it was like more gone. So like you can even see like this side is like more pushed down than this one.
Yeah.
This is like after the surgery and it's still very new. So I will not look like this, but yeah, he took a lot off.
Wow.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
So you have how many surgeries do you have to have in total? Because it took you a while to find the doctor to do the surgery as well, right?
Yeah, it took me like a full year. I had gone like every day to talk to a different doctor, like from all over the world, like from everywhere. And it was always like Zoom calls for 30 minutes. And then they'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to send you the invoice. And it'd be like $1,500 to have a doctor be like, nah, I can't help you. Like,
Shut up.
I am not even kidding. It was the most frustrating process, I think, for my mom and I both, because my mom's like trying to do all she can to help me. So, like, this is her way of helping me, like, finding me a doctor, getting me better. So, like, you know, the way that she took the situation, talking to all these doctors, wanting me to like consult and, just see what the next step would be. It was really hard on both of us, I think, mentally, because it was like every doctor I talked to, I was like, no, he's not the one. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like his attitude. Like, this is not what I want. He's like, you know, me and you are going to be best friends. And he's like, you're going to really appreciate my work. I was like, ew, just like you saying that. I'm
Get
like,
out of here.
no, like he was not, none of them were humble. None of them, I mean, I don't, I don't want to talk bad on anyone, but I definitely was not feeling any of the doctors that I did until like the last one. My mom was like, look, you talk to this doctor. They had been in communication since like, for like 6 months before I met them. So like we had to get the insurance to approve it. Cause I was like, I'm done spending money on people telling me like, no, like it's a lot
Yeah.
of money. I'm just sitting here talking to them for 30 minutes and they're like, nope. So I just felt like I was throwing money away at that point. So I was like, I'm not going to talk to anyone. I don't want a doctor. I'm not even going to get surgery. Like I was in that headset. My mom,
Yeah.
I mean, headspace. My mom's like, you can't walk around without a lip. Like I was like, yes, I can. Like I do that. What are you talking about? Like, but I think she was like thinking of me for the future, not just for now, obviously. But yeah, so I am with Dr. Doe now. And the first time I met him, I was like, oh, I love him. Like I literally love him. Like this is the guy. He's like the sweetest, most caring guy ever. Like I wish everyone can meet him. Like that's how I feel about him. I'm like, you're the best. No, I'm not. Like he's like so humble, so good at what he does. He is a trauma surgeon, so he deals with everything. And he's also like so smart and just like does his research on like every little thing. Like he's just incredible. So yeah, it's my doctor now.
Yes, that's awesome. I'm so glad you found somebody. I mean, just oh God, I can't imagine how frustrating it'd be to hit the point that you're like, F it, I'm not even doing the surgery. This is all becoming too much. And it's like putting you in debt. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, seriously, I think
Um,
it's like 13 grand too. Like something.
holy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just for people to say no, like
Yeah.
geez. Okay, so what's the process? What is the procedure that you're going to be doing? I know there's several different surgeries that you need to have, right?
Yeah, so the first one was definitely like the most gnarly, most strategic one. They took my arm and they grafted from my arm. I don't know if you could see, there's like
Yep.
silicone on it. So they grafted from my arm and they put it on my face, but they actually took like nerve and an artery from my arm and they put it in through here and then connected it. So this like
Wow.
in like 2 months is gonna have like sensation like a normal lip would. So like all the nerves right now are fusing and like sometimes I'll be sitting and I like feel like sharp like tingles and I'm like, what the heck? And then I'm like, it's working.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah, crazy. So I'm gonna need like a good, I mean, the next surgery, like the next stage of the operation is like really gnarly, I think mentally, not physically, but they have to implant tissue expanders to basically like they're gonna go right here, expand my face. I'm gonna look like a chipmunk for like I think like 2 to 3 months. So they're gonna expand the skin because obviously there's like discoloration. So they're gonna like go in, shave this down, shape it like a lip. The implants will be in, my face will be like my skin will be expanded or like
Yeah,
yeah,
they're stretching it out. They're making
yeah,
room.
exactly. They're gonna stretch
Yeah.
it out, and then they're gonna take it and like kind of place it down. So to make the skin all one and then matching. So I won't have like these scar lines. How they're gonna do that, I have no idea, but that's what they're doing. And then they're also gonna give me my rhinoplasty, so my nose job at the same time. So that was gonna be a different step, but he's like, I'm already gonna be in there working. I'm gonna just like fix it if I can at that time too. So that takes one less step. So I'm super happy about that. So just like so I guess like 2, 3 more, maybe 4, and then just like 4, 2 of them like being for surgery, and then the rest of them being cosmetic. So
Okay.
not that much, but I mean at the same time it is. But
How relieved are you to have like found the doctor and now you're in the process, like you're doing it. You can
yeah,
feel your new lip coming to life. Like that's wild.
it's crazy.
Man, thank God for smart people,
I
right? That
know.
like, oh my gosh.
Literally, like God's so cool. Yeah, just like I think to me, I'm like the type to be like, I'm learning patience. I'm learning a lot of patience because I'm very like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, let's just skip the stage. Let's like, and somebody the other day like messaged me on Instagram, kind of like when I wasn't in my head, but I was like, oh, I don't want to do any of this. Like, I'm like so sick of being like going into surgery, talking to doctors. Like, I was just like, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. But I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm like so sick of being that person that's like always in the hospital. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah, sure. Especially now too, with like all the COVID things, like that probably just makes it even worse as well. Like
yeah,
on top of the world being upside down and you have to do so much of this stuff by yourself.
yeah, it's annoying, but it is what it is. And I mean, I'm fortunate enough to not be in the hospital all the time, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know, for my case, I guess with me, I am like, oh, like this sucks. But sometimes I'm like, it's okay. It's like part of life. And somebody messaged me when I was in that headspace the other day. Like all they said was trust the process. And I like sat there and I looked at it and I was like, holy shit. Like I needed to hear that so bad. And it's also so true. Like I'm one to want to skip steps to just like get to the finish line faster.
Mhm.
Like I really need to like just trust every stage of the surgery and just know that like the end result is going to be so well worth it. So all I'm doing is trusting the process. That's all I.
Yeah, I feel yeah, I'm sure this will probably be one of those things, in like years you can look back on it and be like, man, as much as like it took the time and it took the patience, but like
Mm.
trusting that everyone knows what they're doing and that everything is going the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, because it's so
Man.
easy to be like, no, I know what my body wants, but the doctors are like, you know, I mean, I feel like when you go through something like this, you're like just like in a weird, not a weird space mentally, but you're just like you get over it really quick. So for me
Sure.
to be like, oh my gosh, I have to go through like another 6 months of shit, like I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
It's like you just want to live your life,
You
but
want to
in
get on
order
with
to
it.
like exactly in order to like get on with it, you have to like trust the process and take these steps and like kind of just have patience with it all. And that's definitely what I'm learning because like I said before, I'm just like a spaz and I want to go and do and speak, and it's like I'm having to like settle and just like breathe and I'm
Yeah.
it, but it's good.